Well, hello there, people. So today I'm going to show you how to do 3 things in Terraria easily. First of all, this is going to include a teleporter guide. It's also going to, because you need to know it before you can make teleporters properly, a wire tutorial, and also how to make some simple mechanisms while we're at it. So, first of all, the wiring. You need to know how to wire stuff if you're going to make teleporters. I've made a teleporter here, actually. You can see, depending how you wire it, you can beam back and forth very, very quickly. Holding any wiring tool or most of the mechanisms that can be wired to will show you where the wires are. So I have a timer here. You'll see there's this red line, that's some wire. Down here there's a blue line, I'll tell you about that later. So you can see I've got this teleporter wired up on both sides, and that's one way of doing that. So if you hold that, you'll see the wires. That's a great way of detecting traps earlier in the game, and also finding wire that you can harvest for free. But most of the time, you are going to need to go to your mechanic, who you will free from the dungeon when you get there after defeating Skeletron. And you will go to the mechanic to get some of your tools. And so if you want to place wire, you're going to need a wrench. You can buy a wrench from the mechanic. There are 4 different colors of wrenches, each of which places a different color of wire. So I've got a red wrench and a blue wrench already. I'm going to buy a green wrench and a yellow wrench while we're here, so that I'll be able to place all 4. I haven't needed to do that quite yet. So, wrenches, wires, you can also buy wires here from the mechanic, and you can also find those in the dungeon and the jungle temple. Among other places underground, you'll find those boulder traps, dart traps, that kind of stuff. You can harvest all those wires with a wire cutter, so you can buy that from the mechanic as well. One more thing that we will want is a mechanical lens. That's also going to, you can just have the mechanical lens in your inventory, and then that way you don't have to hold any of those tools in order to see the wiring. So now that I have mechanical lens in my inventory, if I go down here, there's my wires. I have a wire going right across the sky. You can place wires anywhere, actually. They exist on their own separate layer. They don't have to be on any blocks or anything like that. So now that I have my mechanical lens, I don't even have to have any of that selected, and you can see where all the wires are. So when you have those things, you can actually, instead of taking up all that space in your inventory, you can then go down here to the Tinkerer's Workshop. Once you have the Goblin Tinkerer, you've defeated the Goblin Army, found the Tinkerer, get the Tinkerer's Workshop, and then you can combine those 4 colored wrenches plus the wire cutter into the multicolored wrench. And let's just go ahead and put that selected there. So when you have the multicolored wrench, you can place any of the 4 colors of wire, and you can also remove wire with that. And you can set visibility for the mechanical lens functions, being able to see these things. You can set that up there. On, off, see that red wire appearing, disappearing. And then you can also use your right click, your secondary button, which is your open activate button if you're not on PC. That will open the menu so that you can select, do you want to place or remove wire, and then you can select which one or more than one that you want to place or remove. You can add or remove wires all at once, and that's kind of how you do it. So once you have that actually as well, you can then go to the Goblin Tinkerer, that's this little green guy here, and you can buy a ruler. I already have one over here in my piggy bank. I went ahead and bought one from him ahead of time. So you can combine your mechanical lens, your ruler, your multicolored wrench, all those into the grand design. You also need 60 wire. Once you have that, you can actually just have that in your inventory. You don't even need to necessarily have it selected in order to see the wires. And again, you can toggle on and off. See, I've turned my ruler off. This is what the ruler does. Shows you where you can place things more easily. It gives you accuracy, so I can easily place things. It also expands the, once you have the grand design, you have a larger reach. And once you have either the multicolor wrench or the grand design, you can then remove wires directly into your inventory. So I can go ahead and go to the remove, and right, I need to select which ones I want to remove. Also, there's actuators. You can remove those too. See, that goes straight into my inventory. Normally with the wire cutter, it'll just flop into the air. So that can save you some time as well. Anyway, so that's how you place and remove wires. I can just then go like that, make a whole line of wires. I can right click, switch to remove, and then I can remove all those wires right back into my inventory, nice and quick. So, all right, after you've got all that going on, mechanisms will generally need to be activated. So what I've done here on my teleporter is just a pad. You go and you buy it from your Steampunker. I'll show you that in a second. But mechanisms will generally need to be activated. So there's switches, plates, and timers. You just basically connect the wire to a switch plate or a timer and to whatever it is that you want to activate the mechanism. And you connect the two, and that's about it. And then you hit your switch, or you step on your plate, or you just activate or deactivate the timer, and that will get your mechanism going. So timers, by the way, are, if you're on console or on PC, they're crafted from 1 watch and 1 wire. A watch is 1 chain plus 10 bars of the appropriate type of ore at your table and chair, which is unusual. You'll actually make a watch at the table and chair. Depending on the quality of the watch, it will affect how often that timer activates. So I've got a 1-second timer here. I need a platinum or a gold watch to make a 1-second timer. Oh right, I don't have the chain. Right, I'm not making the watch. I already have the watch. So the watch, you will need to be at the table and chair with a chain and 10 bars. You will make the watch. I already have the watch. So I am going to go to my anvil. I have a few of those around, and then I can make a timer from the watch and a wire. And that's a 1-second timer because it's a platinum watch, also a gold watch. You can also make 3-second timers with silver or tungsten, and 5-second timers with tin or copper watches. Anyway, teleporters. So you'll need to go to your Steampunker if you want to have, if you want to make teleporters, if you want to buy the teleporter, and then you'll need to hook it up after that. So you'll need to talk to her. She's going to tell you that. Let me just get that off because I keep running into that. And yeah, teleporters, 2 gold, 50 silver. And you just place one of those teleporter platforms wherever you want to be able to teleport to and from. Also, by the way, she does sell conveyor belts if you're on PC 1.3. That'll be coming to console and mobile soon. So conveyor belts cost the same amount as wire. So for short distances, you can just use a conveyor belt, and you can activate or change the direction of those with by wiring them up. They'll automatically be active, but you can also change the direction if you wire them to a switch or something. And so for short distances, conveyor belts can be good. You can make escalators diagonally and stuff like that. They do not work on enemies, only on items, players, and NPCs. By the way, your Steampunker is unlocked after defeating at least 1 mechanical boss. So you can get, your basic mechanisms pretty early in the game, pre-hard mode, once you've saved your mechanic. And then you can, save some inventory space and get a couple more things once you get the Goblin Tinkerer. But then you're going to need to get into hard mode, defeat a mechanical boss, and then you will be able to unlock your Steampunker, and that's when you can do your teleporters. So teleporters. Let me show you how these are wired, because that's kind of the big deal here. You notice I've actually got 2 wires connecting this one. So I am going to toggle my ruler off because that's getting annoying. And if I just go ahead and cut this wire. Yeah, so I've just got the blue wire connected now. You can see the blue wire runs through here. It has to touch one side or the other side of the teleporter, and then it has to go to where you are actually activating it. So obviously, I'm not standing on the teleporter platform, so that switch does nothing. But I've also got if you look very closely there, why don't I just get that off of there? It's a gray pressure plate. So the easiest way to wire your teleporters up is with pressure plates. That's what the effect that you were seeing there, where I just step on the teleporter and I am whisked away by the teleporter to the destination. That's the red wire. And for that to work again, I'm going to need to wire that back up. So switch this and put those wires back. It's got to connect. See, I've actually placed the pressure plate on top of the teleporter pad. And if you want to be able to go to more than one destination, you need to put it off to the side. So I've put this one off to the left side. That leaves me free. You'll notice I haven't wired anything to the right side of the teleporter because I'm then free to wire the right side of the teleporter somewhere completely different. I've got two destinations on one side of the teleporter. So if I step on the pressure plate, oh, yeah, that was the other one. So, yeah, the switch is wired to take me back and forth to the underworld from here. So that's the blue wire. The red wire takes me to this other series of teleporters, and I can just, if it doesn't activate, you can just jump on it. So I can jump and see that series, all the red ones take me through this whole series of teleporters. Whereas the blue one will just take me directly to the other endpoint, which I currently have wired. And you'll notice this one as well. I've not used the right side yet because I can then go ahead and wire that somewhere else. So you can have up to 8 destinations from one teleporter because you have 4 colors of wire. You can hook them all to one side, and then you can hook 4 colors of wire to the other side as well. Of course, you're going to have to route your wires so they don't cross and stuff like that. But the pressure plate is the easiest way of doing it. So I've just stuck a pressure plate to one side of the teleporter. I can walk over or jump on that side, and that'll take me that direction. I can then just walk over the other way or jump on that side, and that'll take me the other direction. Nice and simple. So that's why most of these have one red wire to each side. That's the pressure plate. But the blue wire I've wired to a switch, which you can do as well, and that'll just take me straight to that destination. So if you want multiple destinations, you're going to need to do that. You can use switches instead of pressure plates, but you can just have up to 4 destinations. You can do, one by pressure plate like I have if you want to, and have, the rest to switches, or do them all to switches, whatever you want to do. But those are basically the 2 ways you're going to want to do that. Wire your teleporters up, and that's it. You just need the wire to connect all the way from one to the other. There is a range limit of 3,000 wire lengths, which is 3,000 blocks for the wire to travel from one teleporter to another. And that's it. It's worth noting as well that teleporters can transport only players, NPCs, and enemies, and that they are two-way, so that if a player, NPC, or enemy is standing on the other end of the teleporter, then they're going to come to where you are. When you activate the teleporter, if somebody happens to be standing on the other end, you're going to switch spots with them. So that's worth noting as well. Pressure plates, by the way, there are different types of pressure plates. So some of them can only be activated by players, whereas others can be activated by NPCs and enemies. So it's the gray, brown, and blue pressure plates that can be activated only by players. The other ones can be activated by NPCs and enemies as well. So you can teleport NPCs and enemies around if you want to. Switches, of course, are activated by players only. So, yeah. That's basically your guide to teleporters. Simple as that. Wire them up, choose your pressure plate or your switch, wire 1 or more destinations to each side of the teleporter. You can kind of see there's a little dot there to indicate where to stick the wires to. And that's your teleporters. You can also create lots of other simple mechanisms, and you can get into more complicated stuff. There are, logic gates and all kinds of stuff, but I'm going to show you the basic stuff. So here you can see I've wired up a bunny cannon and some fireworks stuff and a regular cannon, and all of that is wired to a switch, which is on the end here. So I can just, boom, activate that. All of that stuff fires. Got confetti, fireworks, all that stuff. I did have one single-use rocket here, which went the first time, but the other ones are all multi-use. Note that the bunny cannon and the cannon, if you wire them up, it's purely cosmetic. Those are not going to cause any damage. Whereas if you actually have a cannonball and you manually use it, then it is something that you can do. Now you also see here I've wired some other stuff up. So I've got a pump. There's an inlet pump and an outlet pump. So I put the inlet pump underwater here. I put the outlet pump where there is no water there. For a pump, you're probably going to want to use a timer. So let me clear out these enemies for a second. So I will just knock out a spot to put a timer there. And I will put that timer down. And you have to right click to activate or deactivate. But if you activate it, look at that. It's pumping water over there. I'm going to turn that off and see it's pumping water out from here. So you can use that to pump water, honey, or lava. It's a good way of creating traps, for instance, lava traps. You can use your pump. So either end. Oh, did those come out because I flooded that area? Possibly. All right, so you'll need an inlet pump and an outlet pump. The inlet must be submerged in the liquid. The outlet, on the other hand, will stop pumping if it becomes submerged. So you'll want generally your outlet pump to be up above, and it'll just squirt out the water and fall, which is not what I did here. It's a quick demonstration. So pumps are crafted from 10 iron or lead bars plus 2 wires. You'll need to craft your inlet one and your outlet one, so you're going to need 20 bars and 4 wires. And that's, I believe that's at your anvil. I didn't note that down. So you can wire pumps, cannons, fireworks, doors, which I've done over here, and also many statues. You'll see I've got a couple statues there. I haven't wired them to anything yet. So I've wired that door down there to a switch, and I can open and close the door just by clicking on the switch. And I wanted to show you this as well. You can wire a statue. So there's a couple different ways. You can wire it to a pressure plate. So now when I step on the pressure plate, out comes a skeleton. So there are certain statues that you can wire up and certain ones you can't. You can also wire a statue to a timer and activate the timer, and that will generate infinite slimes, which is a great way of farming gel. And we'll turn that off. So yeah, you can wire up various statues. Not all statues can be wired up, but basically most of the ones that look like enemies can be wired up, including the chest statue that will generate mimics actually, but you can't use those to get drops, unfortunately. Those mimics will not give you drops. And a lot of the enemies that come from statues, and also critters like butterflies and worms and stuff, you can have those generated by the statues, but you can't actually capture those with a net, unfortunately. So that's not that simple to get your bait for fishing, but you can wire those up and generate, infinite critters, infinite enemies, especially with a timer like that. You can also, of course, if you find a heart statue or a mana star statue, those are things that you'll probably want in a boss arena. You can wire up one of those statues with a timer, especially 1 second timer. It'll keep generating hearts or mana crystals, and that is very helpful in fighting bosses. So pumps are great for making fishing holes, moving honey and lava for boss or event arenas, to make lava traps and stuff. Statues are useful. Doors, of course, you can wire those up. A couple things I'm not going to get into today, but I will show you in a follow-up episode, maybe next week, is some more advanced stuff. Traps. I'm not going to get into traps today, but of course you can wire up traps and actuators, which you can use for advanced like defenses and or other kinds of traps, lava traps, that kind of stuff. I'm going to get into that in a follow-up episode, so hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give it a like if you like the video, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.